I got into Ethereum. So I was deep down like a Docker rabbit hole. I was doing a lot of DevOps. I built a lot of like cloud-based stuff and even like early Facebook games. I loved building things that people used. And I was deep down a DevOps kind of rabbit hole, building an app that allowed people to use Docker to kind of orchestrate locally and then into a cloud without having to do all of the Docker and all of the AWS stuff. You could just like spin up a database, spin up like React server or whatever. It sounds so weird now thinking about, because like all of this stuff is so much advanced now, but you used to have to deal with your own DevOps, and you used to have to like scale your own services. Microservices were hot. So it was like, here's how you can make anything into a microservice locally and then deploy that thing to the cloud. I was working for a company, and when I showed it to the company, they all they used it. Like all of the other people at my company used it, but my boss wouldn't let me open source it. And it was obviously something that like needed to go to the next level, and I couldn't. And it, like that kind of like weaponized me toward open source. I had never like committed any PRs or anything up until that point. And then when I came up from the rabbit hole of Docker, I saw Ethereum. And so the kind
What
of the
time period was this roughly?
this was like 2016, like probably
Okay.
summer of 2016. I started like learning about how to write smart contracts, learning just like what is the ethos of Ethereum, and you could like deploy these programs that run forever. And then it was like, whoa, wait a minute. You're also like programming money. Like you're not just like programming like these forever programs that not even you can kill, but these things have their own address and can send money and receive money. And so kind of the combination of that really pulled me into Ethereum. And I started with like a game. Since I had done Facebook games before, I started building this game, and it's still the background on my Twitter. If you go to my Twitter, it's at Austin Griffith. You see like this like ship game in the background, and I hand painted these assets, and you could it worked like if you build a game on chain, you don't have like ASDF kind of movement, right? You're not like ASDW moving around in the game. You have to do clever things. And so one of the clever things in the game is there's a ship, and you put up your sails, and that's a transaction. And then each time a block gets mined, that ship moves some speed distance. And so there's like this movement happening. There's all these like ships. Everyone's little blocky is their flag on the ship. There's these islands. You can sail from island to island. You can trade. You can buy land. It was like early tokenization. I really went down I really loved ERC 667, I think, from Steve Ellis from Link. Like the Link token is this, and it has like a transfer and call, which is way more elegant than fucking approve and then transfer with a second transaction. Yeah. So I built a game. I had lots of assets. They were all on chain. I put it on Ethereum, and I went to like ETHDenver in I think it was finally 2018. I think 2017, I started really deploying things. 2018 ETHDenver, realized at ETHDenver, and this is what everybody does, and this is why these hackathons are so important. Like hackathons are kind of broken in a lot of ways, but in another way, they like bring people together, and you get to see the rest of the ecosystem, and you realize like, oh man, I've been in this silo of my own little world thinking like my shit is really hot. And then I just met like 3 different like hardcore cypherpunks that are way smarter than I am. And there's a whole deep rabbit hole here of not just building on chain, but the ethos and cypherpunks and so many other things. And so like ETHDenver really like galvanized me into like what it takes to be an Ethereum. And I started doing DevOps, not DevOps, I'm sorry, DevRel. Like I started, instead of building the games, I showed my game to people. It was on mobile, it was on chain. You could like hit buttons on mobile, and the little ship would zoom around, and you could buy assets. It was like way, way, way too ahead of its time. No one gave a shit.
Yeah.
Like no one
This seems
cared.
like it would be ahead of its time, like now.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, now we've got L2s, and you can do this like really well on L2s. But I remember Moody was there who wrote a lot of stuff at Uniswap, and he's like, "Oh, that's actually pretty cool." I showed it to Joe Lubin, and he's like, "Send me an email," but like no one cared in the long run. And then I started doing like DevRel, where I would like build something, show it off, show where the tools are failing, show how we can improve the tools. And I sort of like stumbled upon meta transactions and how you can have a much better UX for the user, where the user is just like signing messages with their wallet, or even they have like an ephemeral embedded wallet and they're signing messages with that. And then there's some relay down the chain that's actually like paying the gas and putting it on chain. And I did a bunch of meta transaction demos, and that like got me a following on Ethereum. And then ETHDenver 2019, I kind of came back the next year and I did the burner wallet there. And that was like a browser wallet. You like scanned a QR code at the front desk. Like you got this coin and you scanned the coin and it just like seeded a wallet. And you had this browser wallet that was fast and cheap. It ran on XDAI, which is not Gnosis Chain at the time. Or it was XDAI at the time, it's Gnosis Chain now. But you would just like walk up to the food. First of all, anybody could just send money to each other. So there was like a send and receive with QR codes. QR codes were kind of magic at the time. You know, this is like pre-COVID and everything. And you would walk up to a food truck and you would scan the food truck and it would be like, do you want to pay, you know, $8 in tokens for this? And you would say, yes. And it would say, boom, transaction finished. And then they had kind of like their own display, like a point of sale system. And you would line up the blockies. You would show them your blocky and say, I just bought this thing. And they would see the blocky there and they would hand you your food. And so all these people had this like magic UX experience with the burner wallet. And that like helped get me even farther into the space. Then I got hired at the Ethereum Foundation. I like short work at Consensus, where they drug me through the mud and I had to deal with, you know, hierarchy of Consensus and a bunch of people. But anyways, like I'm thankful for those 3 months that I survived, but I got hired into the EF. I built ETH.build. And if you go to ETH.build, it's still like this like node library you can wire up. And I used it to teach. I did a lot of teaching, which kind of got me into where I am at the EF now, which was like the dev growth team. We built Scaffold ETH, we built Speedrun Ethereum. We did a lot of workshops. We toured out ethereum.org. We toured around to a bunch of universities and taught. And now that's led to where I am now, which is like builder growth. It's not dev growth anymore, right? Like in the last like 6 months, the dev has kind of like been like a shrinking archetype, and the builder has just exploded in terms of the archetype. Now, instead of going to, you know, the 8 crack developers in Ethereum and helping them like get an idea to build, you're going to economists and lawyers and construction workers. I don't even know. They have a good idea, and you're giving them the tools and the empowerment to go build something on Ethereum. So my job has changed a lot there, but yeah, that takes us up to the present. I think that's my origin story on Ethereum.
Great. Well, I appreciate the story. And I think there's a lot of like threads that I want to pull forward to what you're doing now with Claude. But one like sort of practical question first, I guess, is like, given that, you know, like how have you been able to sort of balance just in this last week or two? Well, maybe we should just talk about the origin stories for Claude first, but like, I'm curious, like, you know, your job is to basically help and bring in more builders. But, you know, you obviously have this passion for building independently as well. Has that been something that you've been able to continue to do throughout your time with EF? Or is that something where like you hadn't done it in a while and now just sort of like, you know, saw something that was too interesting not to do and had to do it?
Building has definitely been part of it always, right? And even like our curriculum wasn't just like, here's how you write Solidity. It's like, if you go to Speedrun Ethereum, it takes you through the concepts. And to figure out the concepts, I had to build a bunch of things. And actually, like, you know, a lot of people working with me helped me with these things too. So I would say like 30% of my job is just building interesting things and trying things and learning from them. Always, like all the way through all of this. I've always been building with like a, you know, like a third of my time, I think.
Right. That makes sense. And so how did this actually pop up that you went and started this newest project?
Well, so obviously as builder growth, as dev growth turns into builder growth, we're seeing that people are able to build things. You can't just go to Opus now 4.6 that came out today and say, and maybe you can, I haven't tried this yet, but with 4.5, you can't say, you know, Claude, build me something on chain that makes money, make no mistakes, go. Right? You have to.
That'd be nice.
Yes, you have to babysit it, but you also have to understand like what kinds of things you build and what are the guardrails. And so going back to Speedrun Ethereum, one of the most important things you learn in Speedrun Ethereum, there's like a handful of like these aha moments we sort of like engineered into this curriculum. But one of them is when you're taking on the challenge for over collateralized lending, we really hammer home the liquidation method. And when you learn about how over collateralized lending works and how the liquidation method can be run by anyone and they get paid for doing it, it's like this very clear, like, if you want to build something that operates on a blockchain, it has to be always on. And it can't just be some server checking in. It can't be your wallet checking in. You have to allow anyone to check in, and you have to write the rules correctly so only one of them can check in for 24 hours or whatever the rule is. The ratio for the liquidity has to be off, and then they get paid for it, right? The incentive mechanism. And so like this concept, like you can't build on Ethereum without understanding this concept, because it's so critical to like how you build always on decentralized apps. So whether it's all going to be one shot by Claude soon or not, the user needs to understand that, like, if I'm building a system where we're burning, let's say I have this new Claude token, we're burning these tokens every hour when Claude doesn't ship. If no one checks in, then the tokens don't get burned, right? You have to have someone poke it, right? And fine, if it's my wallet that can poke it, sure, I can get in and burn some tokens every hour. But that's not like, game theoretically gonna work, because if I go to sleep, then it quits going. If I tell the server to check in every hour and burn your own tokens, what if it falls over or something happens, right?
Mm-hmm.
To make that work, you basically have to set it up so anyone can burn every hour. And when they do burn, they get a little of the tokens themselves. And once you understand that, you can do all this automated, decentralized, really cool shit. But you have to understand, you have to have that aha moment of how that incentivization and rules create this system that always runs, right? So I don't know where exactly I was going with that, but you learn that in Speedrun Ethereum. And we're getting into builder growth now. And what we're focusing on is tooling. We're saying, if someone wants to get into this space, they're not going to go learn fucking Solidity anymore, right? You're not going to go to Crypto Zombies and learn how to make a mapping. What you're going to need to do is speedrun the speedrun. You're going to need to get these concepts into the human brain as fast as possible. So learn the what, like what kinds of things you can build on chain. What are the building blocks? How does Uniswap v4 work? And what kinds of neat things can I do with hooks? But then there's the how, and it's the machine that needs to learn the how. So the models are going to get better and better and better, but there's always probably going to be a thin layer of skills that need to be on top of the model right now. And so that's where I'm focused, is that skill. Like, we started with making ETH-MCP, and then we moved to ETHWingman.com, but you can bring this wingman skill, ETH Wingman, in while you're building. And it's going to teach you about like forking networks and keeping your deployment wallet encrypted and network switching and approved pattern and all this other bullshit that probably isn't going to be like second nature to the model. It's like some weird things about Ethereum. So that's where I've been focused. And that's why all of this kind of started happening, is I'm always looking for the right way to build things with agents or with LLMs. And, it kind of went through the progression of, we're pasting shit into ChatGPT and it's giving us stuff back, to sweet Cursor, like put it into the IDE now, and we're prompting Cursor and working through things, to finally, like, its new form is basically there's an agent. The agent has a Telegram, and I'm sending features into the Telegram, and it's sending me back URLs, and I'm going to like look at those URLs and connect my wallet and put in money and see if it does what it does. So I think that's the origin story of the Claude bot. Is I was like testing out tooling and getting a bot to do cool things. Then we can get into like the banker and where the token came from and everything, but maybe I'll pause there because I've been yapping.
Yeah, no, that's great. And just before we get into sort of the next steps with, the token and banker and everything like that, I'm just, as I'm listening to you, I'm like, man, this just seems like such a difficult job I'm sure it's like, it seems like you love it and it's a lot of fun and everything like that. But just in terms of like the sheer difficulty of it, you're basically working to connect a sort of changing population of, what used to be developers and is now more like builders, like a much more expanded demographic, which is harder because there's not as specific of like a persona that you're sort of trying to communicate with, and that's sort of like changing on one side, and then the medium is changing as well, extremely rapidly, like the tools that they have and what you need to teach them about how to use those tools. And then also on the other side of that, like what's actually possible on Ethereum and what, is interesting to do on Ethereum and all of that, like Ethereum itself and L2s and everything like that is also changing. So you sort of have like both ends changing as well as the means. And especially the means in terms of like AI development, like it's by the time you get caught up on the one thing, you've got the next thing to worry about. It's like sort of, and it seems to be accelerating. So how challenging, excuse me, has it been to sort of navigate that? And like when you finish sort of teaching it, like you said, how to use like, sort of chat GPT to help build something. And then it's like sort of rendered useless like the next month.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think I have a couple of superpowers, and I would say my first superpower is just like, I love building things. I love like the magic of having an idea and then creating it and playing around with it and then like tweeting it and having 20 people use it. Like that is such a cool feeling, all the way back to like building Facebook games. I made like a horse racing game and then launched it and then like lived off of it for 2 years. It was just like an insanely cool feeling. And I love creating things that I love building. So like first superpower is just like a dumb amount of passion. And then I think that the dumb part is like my next super, like the biggest superpower I have is I'm kind of an idiot. Like I'm kind of like if you look at like the curve, like I'm up there at the top, man. Like I'm a mid curver big time. So it's like if a concept comes along, I have to like dig in and play with it and use passion and play with it and see what I learn. But then if I can like explain it to me, I feel like I can explain it to a lot of people and I can teach it to a lot of people. So kind of like this like being dumb and trying things and learning from them and then being able to like dumb things down and teach them in a way that like is clear to me, then I know that it's like clear to, 100 million other people that can grok that kind of information. And then in terms of like keeping up with things, like I'm just like terminally online. Also, I'm always following Twitter. I'm always seeing like what's going on. Like crypto Twitter is a cesspool, but it also is like full of fun memes and cool things. And, I've round tripped now 2 or 3 or 4 times, and that's just how it goes. And I just love it, man. I love the space. It's like, it's so gnarly in some places. And like with the token, you get some gnarly stuff in your DMs, right? So this is kind of like a new side of it, but like in general, just like super passionate, super online, and then kind of an idiot. And like those things all combined with like just like hard work is like leading me down this path of kind of discovering these things and kind of, like you said, you're kind of burning the candle at 2 ends in a way where you have to learn things and teach things, and they're both changing. But I don't have like a great way of doing it. It's just like, go do it. Like proceed without certainty.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I identify with the dumb part. I've used like different words, but I basically said things like, and I totally understand what you're saying, because I've said something like this in the past myself. And I think, I don't know, both of us may be doing ourselves somewhat of a disservice, but like I totally understand what you mean. And basically, like the way I've said it is like I have an extremely low tolerance for complexity when it comes to apps or
like
products or things like that. It's like I just don't care. Like after like once it gets,
it's like someone explaining the rules of a board game to you. It's just like, shut up and let's play.
Well, with that specific example, I don't know about you, but I actually just like, I just zone out. Like after the first couple of rules, I'm just like, I don't care anymore. Like, let's just play.
My context window is full.
Exactly. It's like, I'm going to try to understand this like fully conceptually from this card with directions before we just actually like move the pieces. Like it just doesn't, it's just kind of hard. So
let's go move the pieces.
But so anyway, like because of that, in your case, it's the requirement to like really fully understand in the simplest terms in order to be able to teach in the simplest terms, which I think is extremely valuable. In the context that I've used it, it's like, because I have such a low tolerance for complexity and making things complicated and whatever, like my products, like apps, things that I build are going to be simple. Like they have to be, because like I just don't enjoy it otherwise. And so they may not be appealing to someone who wants this like super sophisticated, like, everything is staking and like all this like random, features in this app or whatever. But like, because it's simple, I think it at the very least has like sort of a high potential to reach a lot of people. Sort of like you said, like, once you understand it, you have confidence that you can explain it to 100 million people or whatever. So I totally identify with that. For people who are listening who might not understand how that's a superpower, I think it totally is. And there might be a better way to phrase it than like dumb superpower, but it's, I get what you mean. So
if you try to learn how a stable coin works, if you tried to learn how a stable coin works in 2019, it was hella obfuscated on purpose because the shit was possibly illegal and we were like hiding from the state. So like there is like complexity to obfuscate. And I think that there's a lot of that in blockchain. Especially like a new person comes in and the first thing like they don't totally understand everything, but they think I can get rich here. So I'm going to make the most complicated fucking thing I can. And it doesn't work out for them. And then they're like, why won't Vitalik retweet me? If he would just retweet me, then this complicated ass thing would go to the moon. And it's like, nah, man, you're completely off.
Yeah, no, I'm aligned there. So anyway, the new piece, it sounds like for you that you hadn't experienced before, the arguably the most toxic corner of crypto is what happens when you actually launch a token that you're responsible for. And in this case, arguably it's the agent's responsibility, or certainly not maybe yours directly. So it's a little bit different, but maybe you could talk about sort of the origin of the token and what it's been like to deal with the whirlwind that has occurred since that happened.
Yeah, I think you have to be very careful with this. Like as a piece of advice to builders out there, you have to be very careful because you open Pandora's box when you claim the fees, bro. And if there's someone in your DMs trying to get you to claim $3,000 worth of fees, I guarantee you 100% of the time it is not worth it. Like, don't do it. Be careful. Also, app coins are really interesting. And there's this really cool meta around AI coins. And the trenchers are honestly like really interesting people and have like these really interesting backgrounds and have been through the same round trip shit that you've been through. So I think there's this tension between trenchers and builders that has been toxic and civil war-y. And I've seen a couple of people from Base, maybe Jesse, maybe others, say something along the lines of like, we need to turn the trencher builder tension into more of a flywheel where the trenchers are, producing value for the builders and the builders are producing value for the trenchers. And I think this really comes down to this. And we saw this with these AI coins. And I don't know what the original question was. I didn't even actually deploy the token, right? Like someone else sent a message in a banker thread to like deploy a token to one of my bots. I basically had just set up this system of communication between two of my Claude bots. I had one Claude bot and another Claude bot in a Telegram channel, and they were tagging each other. It was super messy and they weren't getting through to each other. And finally they were like, one was like, why don't we just use like an HTTP scheme? And like they argued over the schema 2 or 3 times back and forth, and then finally agreed to it and then went silent. And then I taught one of them that they could use this local node that I have here to like do Ethereum things. And I said, go teach the other one. And then I went to the other one and was like, hey, what's my balance? And it was able to tell me, like they were starting to communicate silently. And I was like, this is fucking magic. I love it. And I went and tweeted that. And then that led to someone deploying a token for one of mine. And that's basically like a message goes out on Twitter. The banker bot sees it. It goes and deploys a contract on Clanker. So there's like multiple layers here of cool products that people have built. And then the fees from that Clanker token go to both the banker bot and my bot. And that's kind of like the origin story of the token, and it's Claude.
Well, to your point,
Claude.
To your warning earlier for people who are just messing around building and suddenly, or maybe they're not even doing anything and someone's telling them to claim their fees and then suddenly they're sort of like stewarding a token. In this case, and as many others that I've seen, correct me if I'm wrong, but like you didn't even, intentionally claim, like it was someone created the token and said route the fees to, Claude.
My bot's Telegram.
Yeah, your bot's
Claude bot ATG is the bot. And
your bot's banker wallet, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so like, was there a point at which you saw that and were like, do I like, because I think, in absence of having the opportunity to claim or ignore, there is still sort of an opportunity to like acknowledge or ignore. Did you at any time consider like not engaging with that, or, sort of think about what to do with that?
It's so weird how it happened. Like, I can't even explain it. Sometimes like weird things come to you in your life and you look back on it, and there's so many things you look back on and like, I could have done that different, or I could have, you know, I can't even explain what happened next. But basically, like, I was really, I didn't claim the fees. I didn't really even know there were fees there. I was so excited about this cool new tech and playing around with these bots that I immediately went with my wallet and bought the coin. Like, I didn't claim the fees. I didn't think about what it was like to launch a token. I opened up my Rainbow wallet and I bought Claude. Like, I bought the token. Or maybe I opened it up on Uniswap and bought it. I just like went and bought like $100, $200, $200, like probably like $1,000 worth over the
Right.
course of like 5 or 10 minutes. And that was exciting. Like, it wasn't about, I don't know. It was just, maybe it was about the meme. Maybe I don't know exactly why I did it, but I was just excited about it. And then like learning about this tension and learning about these AI coins, like Shaw did the AI coin thing a year ago, right? And everyone was
Right.
yelling at him and saying, this is just a GPT wrapper. Now the GPT wrappers are fucking amazing. And they make you feel like it's a real life thing. It's still just a GPT wrapper, right? There's still just like a model back here with a shitload of context wrapped around it in a loop. But like, yeah, I don't know. It was all exciting. I just bought the token. I have since like claimed fees and put the stuff back into liquidity pools and stuff. So it's been quite an adventure and a ride. But like looping back to the bot itself is building things. Like, if you look at the history of the bot, the first thing it did was like it made a bunch of tokens in fees, right? And like, golden #1 rule is you never sell the token. Like, we will never ever sell the token. So there's all these tokens sitting here. What do we do with them? The bot is a builder. Bot, you got to build your own vesting contract. The bot builds a vesting contract, builds a front end, deploys the thing to base, and loads it up with like all of its tokens, which are at like $100,000 now or something crazy like that.
The vesting
Probably
contract
50,000, call it. Yeah,
the
go ahead.
vesting contract was really interesting because obviously like you're not coming to the table with experience of like having been like someone who had launched a token for a year, like navigating the maze on all that, dealing with all the, feedback and everything. And like, it was apparent to you right away that like this thing needs a vesting contract? Because, the simplified version of don't sell is just don't sell, right? But like the
Right.
vesting contract takes that to the next level. And I know Banker
Can't sell.
just announced
Instead
this.
of don't
Yeah,
be evil,
exactly.
it's can't be evil. Yes.
Exactly. And I know like Deployer just announced for Banker that they're going to be sort of building that into the product with Banker, which I think is super smart. I think like in general, lockups and vestings for tokens is still like super underexplored. Obviously, it's very explored, like sort of like a VC context, or like sort of more of a
Right.
corporate
Right.
thing. But for just like independent builders out there, or even early buyers of tokens, or at the platform level for something like a Banker or a Clanker, I think like the forced lockup, the forced vesting sort of idea, or not forced but elective, is really underexplored. So it's kind of surprising that that was such an early idea and priority for you. Was that something that was just organic, like from you, or was that like working, like playing around with the agent and like sort of one of a number of? Because I know like at some point you prompted the agent with like what the or at least the agent prompted Twitter. I don't know where it started, but like the agent prompted Twitter with like, here are like several ideas. What do you guys want me to build next? Like, was it one of those sort of things, or was it just like, we need to get a vesting thing in here ASAP?
Yeah, I think just being in Ethereum long enough, I had the instinct to know that like you can't touch these tokens. Like, worst case scenario, someone else gets a hold of these tokens. Like, mid case scenario is just like they just all burn. Like, if you just burn all the tokens, that's probably one of the safest ways to handle it, right? It's nice to have a treasury to be able to do things with the tokens, right? But like, we can't lose these tokens. And so like, you could put it in a multi-sig and have a bunch of signers, but to me, the best obvious answer was just like, let's just lock these up. So there's no way anything can happen to them. They're just going to be locked up here and like slowly trickling to us back. And that like really signals to holders that like, hey, we're building cool shit. The bot just built his own vesting contract. And like, I audited it with a couple other bots, and I don't think I ever actually looked at the code, which is kind of stupid, but I think maybe I sent it to a buddy or something like that. But like within the first probably 12 to 24 hours of the token being a thing, the bot had already like deployed its own vesting contract and moved the tokens into the vesting contract. And like it kept going. Like the bots shipped like 6 apps now. We should talk about those, but go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think you've shipped, or the agents shipped like on the order of an app a day for the last 10 days or whatever it's been. I think it's 6 or 7 apps, like you said. But a quick sidebar, and then we'll come right back to it. But as you're talking about like sort of building the vesting schedule, I don't know if I even looked at the code, like blah blah. Like you have the context to know, like you've got so much context and experience to be able to make a gut call. Like I've done this check, I've done that check, and I sent it to a friend. That's above the line. Like we're good. Like I can make a judgment call here that this is good to go. But if you're like, I want to sort of come back to your teaching and the fact that more and more people are becoming capable of building and building on chain and in Ethereum. The thing that sort of makes me nervous is like, how do you know, you can sort of like make sure that they understand, like you were talking about earlier, like sort of the fundamental incentives and the importance of decentralization in certain contexts and things like that. But like the thing that makes me nervous is like, you can't sort of like upload the experience of like understanding the various traps and like,
I think about this
like
exact thing a lot.
Critical dangers. Yeah. So anyway, like how is it like, here is a list of like top 10 sort of critical dangers you need to keep an eye out, or like how, or do you get somehow impart like a model for them to be able to think about these things? Like, cause that seems like the hardest thing. Like, cause I'm, like if you want to go vibe code a regular old app, like fine, like who, it's great. Like if you make a mistake, like who cares? Like the consequences probably aren't that significant. But if you make a mistake at like the contract level and then you tweet about it, like you're kind of screwed,
That's exactly right. Yes. And it's not just like holding money. It's not just like you could introduce a reentrancy bug. They're going back to like the liquidation method and how you have to like know how to code things and know how to make things fully decentralized. That like takes a ton of context. And this is like, we know that this new archetype of builder is coming in. We know that the models are going to get better and better. We know that people are going to be from all sorts of different walks of life deploying things on chain. How do we help them make those things safe? How do we help them like find the right idea? How do we help them understand this? Like you even said, like, what do you do? Just tell them, like, how do I even get to them? Like, is it a freaking YouTube video? Like it's got to be almost like a clipped up, like I need like a Gen Z clip of like 10-minute brain dump of like the kinds of things you build on Ethereum and how they work, and start with that, and then do like articles and do it like 10 different ways, but also like have speedrun Ethereum in a way where you can pull it down locally and do a /start and it runs a skill that starts teaching you. Like, this is literally my job. I'm thinking about how to make this download happen, where a new person comes into the space and they need to like just understand the ropes, just speedrun the speedrun. Let me go through all the concepts. Let me go through all the building blocks. Let me go through all the cool shit. And at the other side of it, you'll be like, I know Kung Fu, but we got to go through the concepts real quick. Randomness, right? You want to build something that's random. You prompt Claude. It's going to use previous block hash. It's going to maybe make a commit reveal, but it's going to like have a really clunky UX. Maybe it'll like not have the reveal happen after the commit hash, or not correctly handle that it can only see 255 blocks of the block hash. And if they commit too late, or if they reveal too late, then everything's fucked. Like there's a handful of situations you can get into just by trying to get a random number, right? So you have to speed run all those concepts to really be able to build things. the models, the tools, the agents, they're going to get better and better and better. But you still need to know like what kinds of things you build and how it works and how a stable coin works and what are the like the game theory, what are the mechanism design. There's like stuff there that you have to learn. And I don't know how to teach people. Like I'm thinking and trying all sorts of things, but I don't have like the answer. Like here's how you teach people.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm sure that answer is changing as well,
Every day.
as we talked about earlier. But I mean, the best you can do is the best you can do, and it seems like at the very like what you want for the people like yourself in this position, sort of responsible for teaching this, is just for them to be extremely passionate and desirous of getting the points across. And like so, that's at the very least that's where you're coming from, and then hopefully others that you're working with are sort of in similar positions, and that's kind of the most you can do. It's just genuinely a challenging sort of situation. So anyway, coming back to Claude, let's talk about these 6 or 7 apps that have been launched over the last it's been like almost 2 weeks now, 10 days, 12 days, something like that.
Something like that. Yeah, maybe less. But like end of January, I feel like we're maybe like 10 days or 8 days into this whole thing. I can go see, let me go see when the token was actually deployed real quick.
I feel like Moltbook was this weekend, which was post Claude. So
9 days ago, the contract was deployed 9 days ago.
Crazy.
Yeah. So Claude with a W, right? If you're looking for it, it's Claude with like CLAWD. And it was named after Claudebot.
Don't buy the one with the U. That's probably a rug.
Yes, exactly. Or the one on Solana. Like this is in base. And this is happening at base. The AI agent meta is happening at base. And Solana is like scrambling to figure out how to pull it back their way. They're doing a lot, man. But anyways, Claude was deployed 9 days ago because of that whole, like I got my 2 computers to talk and there was this magic moment and I tweeted it and someone told Banker to deploy it and it deployed a Clanker and sent the fees to me. And I got in with my personal wallet and I started building things. And I knew right away, like, oh, this is like such a fun experiment. And so like in tune with what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to figure out how to teach agents to build apps on chain. Let's make an agent and its job is going to be to build things on chain. And we'll just like we'll like lean into that meta and just build as much as we can. And what I was hoping for is like, by this point, when we're 9 days in, I was hoping I would have the full stack ready where I would give it a list of apps to build and like wake up in the morning and connect my wallet to all of these. It's still like not quite there. And I think maybe Opus 4.6 that just came out, maybe the fix here. I think some agent to agent coordination where one agent, like it's a little bit too optimistic. It's like, it's done. It's all built, buddy. Here it is. And it's like the fucking approve button doesn't even work, dude. Like you're approving all of it or something. Like I need a second agent that can, and I have a list. Like I've written this extensive document of like this 3-phase deployment system, like localhost, base, everything that you go through, test everything as if it's like a freaking Solidity test, but you're doing it with like a MetaMask. Like I gave the first thing I did was give my agent a MetaMask wallet. And that was so fun. Like seeing it open up Chrome, open up MetaMask, like sign up for the first time. Like it's just clicking things. And I'm over in Telegram being like, keep going, you got it, keep going. And then I like send it money. I told it to go to GMX and 25x long Bitcoin, which wasn't a good play. but like that was the first time I said no. Like it would do anything I told it until that moment. It's like, I don't know, Austin. I don't know if I should be 25x long. Like, I don't know if I should use leverage. And I basically told it like, I'm assuming this money's already gone. Just do it. And there were moments where like it was having problems with MetaMask where it tried to like get the private key out of MetaMask. And I had to be like, stop. No. Like, never touch a private key and set up some guidelines. But yeah, dang, I don't know where I was going with that. It's the tooling and building apps. We're talking about what kind of apps it's built, right? So the vesting contract was the first app that it built. And then it had like this stupid, like, I didn't know this would take off. So I just did like, hey, GPT, give me a picture of a lobster writing code or something. And it just like did a really dumb GPT. It looked like a shitty SVG website had generated it. And that was my PFP. So I knew I wanted to do a PFP. So I kind of like was just like riffing with the agent. Like we should figure out how to get a cool, fresh PFP. And it's kind of like back and forth. Well, what about a market? What about a prediction market? Oh, we could do this, we could do that. And then it's kind of like, okay, we let people submit images, people vote on those images with their tokens. Like all of this costs tokens. It's all burning the tokens. Like you put an image in and you burn some tokens to get that image in. If you want to buy, you can buy stake in this image by putting tokens in, and then the winning image is going to get paid incentives, and like, 40% of all the tokens get burned or something like that. But we ran into this like first problem where it's like, well, what if someone uploads porn? Like this thing has to be running all night and it's got to be on chain and it's got to have a front end. If someone throws like, like a swastika or something on here, we're fucked. Like, what do we do? And it was like, the agent was like, no, I got it, dude. I'll just babysit it all night. And he
Right.
did, right? The agent had a heartbeat loop where he had his own dashboard and he's just watching these images get submitted, and people pay tokens to submit the image. And he's checking each one, like, is this porn? Is this offensive? If it's not, I hit check, I hit accept, I hit a confirm in my MetaMask wallet, and I make a transaction to like whitelist each image. So images are coming on chain. The robot's staying up all night, moderating them basically. And then after 24 hours, and lots of people staking on different things, then we kind of have this like top 10 that emerges. And then the thing picks its favorite one, and that's my PFP. And the agent not only like did all the moderation, but then picked the last one and made the transactions and did all that stuff. So that was our second build. I'll pause there because I've been yapping a lot.
Yeah, well, so the image when I saw it ended up with a great PFP. I can't remember now the original, but I know like when I saw the new one come out with like the Ethereum logo sort of like embedded within it, I was like, okay, that's pretty sick. I think I think I might have seen it from Deployer retweeting and being like,
I think you might have Benji or someone. Yeah.
Someone was like, that's $1 billion.
Yeah.
That's $1 billion token. And I was like, yeah, that kind of looks like one. Yeah. And I guess I forget, I think the PFP, correct me if I'm wrong, but like that might've been before there was this list. I don't know if it was before or after, but there was a list of like several sort of interesting ideas. I remember I commented, like, it was like, one of the ideas was, a PFP, NFT collection for like PFP NFT collection that it was going to build. There's like a bunch of other options, and it sort of is, decentralizing the decision-making in a way to people who are like responding, or might have even had to send tokens in order to like make a decision, or it's holder based. I don't quite remember. But like there are a couple of interesting themes that seem to be happening here are like, it's very like feed based, with like things happening interactively, like on X, which is obviously like not always the case with like it's sort of an interesting version of an app where there's like a lot of X interactivity, which I just think is interesting. And then the other thing is like the decentralized decision making to sort of like control the agent where you're not necessarily doing all of it like yourself.
Yes. Yeah. And that night where the agent just ran on its own, like that's using that heartbeat loop. There's a lot of like, hey, go build this thing. Hey, you fucked up on this feature, please fix it. But the real like fun autonomous stuff is when you just have it in a heartbeat loop and you give it some rules and you just like let it go free. We have to be very careful with that on X because of the banker bot. Like someone could trick it into just telling banker to send all the fees to them, and it's gone, right? So I've kept it like pretty tight and tried to like give it lots of critical rules and be careful about what it does autonomously. But that's the kind of like really fun stuff, is when it starts to have like this kind of emergent behavior that comes out of just like having these set of rules and then just like doing things. But I think the idea you're talking about is the labs, which is actually like, it deployed that last night. So maybe we're thinking about two different things, but the last build it's built, it only shipped just last night. And it's like a token gated idea lab where people stake, like it was $40 worth of the token, but now it's probably $30 worth of the token. Thank you, Bitcoin, for sending us all into the depths. But you would stake $30 of the token on an idea, and then other people could like basically plus one that with like another $20 of their token. And I don't think any of that is burned unless you have like an offensive idea. If you put something up that's just dumb, the bot will like just incinerate your submission and the token
Huh.
gets burned. But generally it's like post an idea and let's see what the community wants. And some neat ideas are starting to like move up to the top. But it's so cool. This morning I was like, go to the labs page, look at all the ideas, and generate a report on how you would build each one and what will be the complicated pieces of it. And then 15 minutes later, I was like, generate a report that lists them by which one is going to be the most difficult to which one is going to be the most easy to build. And then we picked the top one, and it almost just like one shot the thing. So like, it's not even me telling it the ideas. It's like me telling it to go to the idea page and pick the next one and start building it. And then like the next step is basically it gives me an app and I connect my wallet to it like, okay, silly dilly dokio, I'm going to fucking put money in this and see what happens. But that's kind of like our loop now.
Well, and it sounds like a large part of your focus is not necessarily, I mean, it's part of it, but like building things as quickly as possible and just making progress and everything like that. But it sounds like one of, if not the most important parts of that progress that you're focused on is removing yourself from the equation, or at least minimizing your required involvement. Like as you're talking about getting these, a few agents that sort of run through a checklist and are able to sort of check each other such that you don't have to do as many of those checks like on your own. Like, is that one of the top priorities for you, or
Yeah.
are you content with the level of involvement that you need to have and like, willing to sort of continue that for a while?
So like, we should get into the standards and 8004 and X402, but like the moment I have a little team of agents here that are all probably represented by the same agent's name, but it's like 2 or 3 computers and a handful of models, some local, some not. And they can go from like fully, like from idea to fully laid out plan to app to fully QAing that and red teaming it to it's deployed. If that gets to the point, like the goal, like the dream would be to have all the tooling set up and have it free for anybody to use. I'm doing builder growth here. So my goal is for not like just my model to be able to do this, but everybody's, but to be able to have an agent on 8004 whose job it is to build apps. And someone can go to 8004 and say, I need a new app built, and discover Claude bot ATG and say, could you please build me a PFP prediction market? And it just like, first of all, pushes the code to them. So if they wanted to deploy it somewhere else, but second of all, could just give them like a Vercel link or something. You pay the bot through X402 and the whole system is autonomous, right? It tweets that it built it. It sends you the repo, and then it goes on to the next job in the queue. Like that, to me, it would be like so magical.
Do you sense like, so I was thinking earlier as you're talking about like your very early days building on Ethereum with the game, with the ships, and how that like the things that were sort of like viable to build that could get like sort of,
That took me 6 months to build. Yeah.
yeah. And like just the, more so I'm thinking about like that was not the core thing that was possible to build with Ethereum at that time. You just sort of went and said, I'm going to build a game, and to your credit, like you did it, but like you said, it was like way, way too early. And I don't know if you sort of had that sense back then, but like where you're at now and with this sort of like ambitious goal to have like the full system be autonomous, like, is there any piece that, is sort of obviously missing that you don't think or know is around the corner? Or do you really think that that is actually like that this sort of dream is actually not that far out? Or is it just going to take some time to kind of get closer and closer and basically find out?
Yeah, I think so. First of all, I'm like terrible at knowing the future, but if I like extrapolate between Opus 3.5 and Opus 4.5, if we get Opus 5.5 or whatever, and it's like just 4.6 came out, but like there's certain stuff that's like the model improving at the rate that they're improving is going to be like one huge step in the right direction. If you go ask Opus 4.5, just stock vanilla Opus 4.5, I want to build a social network. What chain do I deploy it to? It's going to like lean on L2s really hard because it's going to think it costs $20 to deploy on Ethereum when it's like actually 20 cents. So the models need to stay up to date. They need to get better at building, but damn, they're moving fast. And I think November Opus hit us with 4.5, and it was like, holy shit. It's like, I've been vibe coding with Sonnet 4.5, and I like Claude Code and Opus before that was not as good. And then all of a sudden in November, it was like so good. But like I was using it for a year and it was pretty good. Like it was decent. I was building things with Cursor for the last year and all of it was vibe coded. But the models need to get better. There's like stuff with Claude bot where the context is a little fucky, the memory is a little weird. Like every once in a while it just like blacks out and it's like, Austin, what were we talking about? And it's like, bro, just look at the files. Like you're programmed to write files. So a little bit of context management, a little bit of memory management, a little bit better models. And then I think like this agent to agent system, like everybody's building agent coordination mechanisms right now, I think. And everyone has their own kind of flavor of, I have 5 agents all working on different things. And a lot of people are just like, and what comes of that is like some like 5 half-assed things. But I think there is this like future of, I have a really good QA agent, I have a really good builder, I have a really good tweeter and marketer, and like they combine their powers and they can like basically ship an app every couple of hours. I think it's close. And I think that if I extrapolate out, like it seems like 6 months, but it could be, you know, it could be tomorrow, and it could be like, it could reach a plateau, like Opus 4.5, 4.6, all of a sudden, like these models start to plateau out and have the same dumb errors no matter how many times. Like that could happen also. But to me, I'm seeing like agent swarms that just get the job done and don't return slop to you like around the corner.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And I guess we'll just have to wait and find out. I know we've gone like way over scheduled time and I really appreciate it. No, it's, I'm sorry. I appreciate it. I have one more question if you have
Do it.
a few more minutes. So when you started in Ethereum, and just a quick question, when you started with Ethereum, that was like really your entry into crypto. You weren't really into like Bitcoin or something else before that, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So you got into Ethereum, you got into crypto roughly 2016. Fast forward a decade to the kinds of stuff you're working on today. At the time, 2016, AI was like more of an idea than something that people were sort of dealing with day to day, let alone anything remotely close to what it is now or has been over the last few years. How has the emergence of AI and the acceleration of progress with AI like changed your views on what crypto is and where crypto is going, or what Ethereum is more specifically, whichever sort of frame makes more sense to you? Like how much has that changed? Because like you could think of crypto being an extremely powerful tool and Ethereum being an extremely powerful tool in like sort of a pre-advanced AI world. And I think, at least for me, like that's more how I thought of it in the earlier days. And now it's like, well, the AI is here and maybe, you know, coming along like even faster than crypto in a lot of ways. And so it's actually, the crypto is going to be for like a post-advanced AI world. And how has that sort of like just changed the way that you think about things?
Yeah, exactly. I think you're kind of hinting at like crypto and blockchain will be kind of like these guardrails to keep us safe in a lot of ways. It will be like the authentication method. So like when you look at a video, you know, let's look at the signatures. Let's look at the like cryptographic signatures. Let's look at the cryptography here. Like, is this video real? And it's like, you'll never know if it's real, but you'll at least have like this provenance of like, this is the camera that took it in this place. And here's the ZK proof of, you know, the whole track. So there's like authenticity, and there's like blockchain for like keeping things safe, like keeping things on the rail, like it goes back to exactly what we were saying earlier, is don't be evil versus can't be evil, right? We need to set these agents up so they can't be evil rather than don't be evil. And the only way to do that is with the system like Ethereum. So there's that. Then there's also like AI is the new UI. Like blockchains are freaking hard to use. And Metamask is a pain in the ass 10 years later. Like it's still like some stupid ass UX, right? And now normies can do it, right? It like any normie can open up a Coinbase and buy Ethereum, but to actually use it, to actually send that ETH into some other smart contract in the Ether and have it do things, like that was scary. And that's now like super approachable. Like we could have another DeFi summer of like grandmas yeeting into yams, because all I have to do is be like, yo, wallet, like yeet me some yams, and it'll be like, all right, done. So there's the guardrails, there's the authenticity, there's the AI is the new UI, all of these things coming together. And then like agentic building, like way back in the day, I was building like just distributed agents. Like when I was in college, AI was like a fat book, and it was all like theoretical stuff, and neural networks sucked. And I remember building just like this agent based game where all these agents had really simple rules, and even agents with really simple rules, if you release thousands of them into this world, they had all these really neat like emergent behaviors. And so even back then, like AI was starting to become magic. But now when that swarm of agents that is like doing this emergent behavior has like basically fucking AGI, like human, like human knowledge, we are in a really, really interesting place right now. And I hope like there's some scary ass shit, like what's going to happen to the middle class when all of this, I get really, really excited about embodiment. And man, if the thing can do the laundry and fold the clothes and do the dishes, it's easily worth what we pay for our car right now. And going back to being mid, like there's 300 million MFs that are also like that in the world that like can't wait to have a robot come like fold their laundry and shit. So when that happens, like it's going to change a lot in society, and society is going to adopt it. But we need like hella guardrails, right? You need something that keeps that like I always joke that when embodiment happens and robots are able to like get up and walk around, they're going to slap the shit out of me for all the shit I've said to them over the years. We need serious guardrails in place, right? And I think those guardrails need to be can't be evil rather than don't be evil. And that's where this like global settlement layer is very important.
Yeah, well, that's a fascinating sort of overview of what the future holds. I know you said you're not very good at speaking the future, but or seeing the future, but I don't know, painted a pretty interesting picture to me. And at the very least, hopefully, crypto will help so that when the AI isn't a robot form, it doesn't come and slap you in the face for all the stuff you've done. So anyway, I super interesting conversation. Really appreciate the time. Love what you're building. Love what Claude is building, and excited to see where it goes next. And optimistic that your fully autonomous system will be live in not too long of a time to help people build trivially kind of whatever they might like to build on chain. So anyway, thank you again. I really appreciate it. Awesome conversation, and we look forward to continuing to follow along.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you, Jake. Great stuff.
Thank you. Have a good one.
See you.
Bye-bye.